So your cousin, luckily, has a no-guilt job.
Yes.
Yeah.
She confided to me that she talked to one of her friends who works for a military contractor, and talked to her friend about the ethics of what she was doing. I think she was working on what they call unmanned aerial vehicles. Drones.
Oh, the drones.
The drones, right.
That's not a no-guilt job. That's a guilt job.
That is a big-time guilt job.
Oh, yes.
Friend told her after the talk, she went to sleep that night and had a terrible nightmare that she had been targeted. You know, and it's not surprising because people think that, oh, it's okay that we're using these drones because none of our soldiers are getting killed, and they can pinpoint the enemy. You know, in Pakistan, they can pinpoint sympathizers of Al-Qaeda with such precision. We know that's a fallacy. We know that people who are attending wedding parties are getting killed, and we also know that for each innocent person who is killed, we have created another family of enemies. Mm-hmm. So it's a policy that makes no sense. We know that. And it's also a policy cloaked in secrecy because we have no idea who is being targeted and what the fallout is. It's all a secret. So I'm saying we need hearings. Winograd wants hearings on this secret war in Pakistan. And that will be one of my platform points as I campaign up and down the 36th district.
My guest is Marcy Winograd, a co-founder of LA Jews for Peace and an executive board member of the California Democratic Party. Ms. Winograd's day job is high school English teacher in the LAUSD. And she's a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the 36th Congressional District.
Don, can I invite your listeners to get involved in my campaign?
Why not?
I will say this, people.
You can't ask them for money now.
No, I'm not asking
on the air,
for money.
But you can invite them to.
I'm not asking for money.
Invite them
not
to be
that
good
citizens. I don't need money, but I'm not asking for it.
Good citizens.
Don, what I'm asking for is for listeners. If you're listening to this program, and if you think that I'm the kind of candidate you could support, and you really want to see in Congress, then I invite you. I embrace you to step up and get involved in my campaign at winogradforcongress.com. Don, the only way to win a race like this against an entrenched incumbent whose net worth is estimated between $300 and $500 million after having lost $100 million in the economic decline, meltdown, the only way to win a race like that is not through money. Certainly you have to have a baseline to do some of the most necessary tasks, but the real way is through the field, is walking precincts. It's neighbor to neighbor.
Yes.
You don't have to live in the district to help me do that.
Well, you notice, I'm sure, that Paul Krikorian spent half as much money as his opponent, Christine Essel, and won by almost 60%.
I know. I read that.
For the 2nd Council District.
And coincidentally, or not so, tomorrow night, Don, I will be meeting with a group of Armenians in Lomita, which is in my district, and they are ready to start walking precincts. Why? Because they're very disappointed. They felt betrayed. Jane Harman had been a co-sponsor of a resolution to recognize Armenian genocide, the mass exile, the killing, the murder of anywhere between 1.5 million and 2 million Armenians during the Ottoman Empire.
Wait a minute. What are Armenians doing in Lomita? They belong up here in Glendale.
They do. They do live in Glendale. Many of them do. Some live in Redondo Beach. And some want to visit Redondo Beach and help me win this race. So that's what we're going to do.
Excellent. Let me pick up a loose string here. A few minutes ago, you made a reference to Ms. Harman's involvement in a Middle East issue. Could you explain that? Many of our listeners are scratching their heads, saying, what did Marcy mean by that?
Are you talking about the NSA scandal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a fairly convoluted story, but it goes something like this. Jane Harman, according to Jeff Stein of Congressional Quarterly, was caught in an NSA wiretap of AIPAC, in which AIPAC was appealing, reportedly, to Jane Harman to help them get spying charges dropped against 2 of their analysts. In return for her influence as a ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, her influence with the White House, with the Attorney General's office, AIPAC had reportedly promise to help her get the chair of the Intelligence Committee when Congress changed hands. How were they going to help her? They were going to threaten to defund the Democratic Party, get some of their richest donors to say to Nancy Pelosi, who could make the call about who would get the chairmanship, say to Nancy Pelosi, we will defund you the next time you run if you don't put our friend in charge of the House Intelligence Committee. Well, this allegedly was on tape, with Harman saying at the end, this conversation never existed. On the heels of that, the FBI opened an investigation of Jane Harman and said, we want to know what really happened here, and we're going to find out. Jane Harman then, according to Congressional Quarterly, went to Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, who worked for Bush, and said, get the FBI off my back. And Gonzales reportedly said, maybe we can make a deal. And what was the deal? The deal was, Jane Harman, you become the most enthusiastic defender of our massive illegal warrantless wiretapping program. In exchange, we'll make sure the FBI leaves you alone. Lo and behold, the FBI closes that investigation.
Oh, they dropped the charges, right?
Huh?
They dropped the charges,
They dropped
right?
the charges against Jane Harman, yes. They closed
I mean,
that.
against
and then
the two.
On the heels of that,
No, I meant they dropped the charges against the two.
the spy,
alleged,
those accused of spying.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
long after they, more recently they did. One other note is that in 2006, on February 12th, Jane Harman went on Meet the Press to attack the New York Times for finally, after withholding the story for so long because she had implored them to, she attacked the New York Times for releasing the story about the illegal warrantless wiretaps. And it was her performance on Meet the Press on that day, on February 12th of 2006, that made me jump into the race. So what goes around comes around, I suppose.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, that was a good jump. Marcy, if I can arrange it, would you debate Jane Harman here?
Absolutely. You just tell me when, and I'll be there, Don.
Okay.
Jane Harman refuses to debate me. She refused last time. The closest we got was at a local Democratic club where we both spoke the same evening, but she refused to be on the dais with me. At the end of that evening, the Democratic club endorsed my candidacy, so I'm looking forward to perhaps another opportunity to challenge her for a debate.
Well, I'll do my best. I'll be my most charming, and try to get her to come on with you. That would be wonderful. Listen, it was really enlightening to talk with you now about stuff, and more stuff will have occurred in the Congress and in the administration in the next several weeks. And I'll be knocking on your door once again.
Very good. I look forward to another opportunity to talk to you and your listeners, to communicate with your listeners. I really appreciate it, and I will keep you abreast of the campaign.
Marcy Winograd, thank you.
Thank you.
That's fun. I enjoy talking with Marcy. She's very quick on the uptake and the intake, and she's very informative too. She knows stuff. That's what I'd like to see 435 of her in the House of Representatives.